Hi, friends. Welcome back. I want to say thank you to our listeners for tuning in. And I had a person message in after my awkward first two solo episodes saying they actually did really like the idea of me giving quote unquote free on air advice. So, so that listener sent in a question. So stay tuned because some future episodes, not today's episode, will revolve around some questions from the audience. So if you would like some quote unquote free therapeutic feedback, some advice, some what would I do if you were my client questions answered, shoot me a DM. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, I'm on all the socials at the Shrink Show Podcast, or shoot me an email at j-a at theshrinkshowpodcast.com. And I look forward to answering some of your questions. Going to some of our past comments. I was scrolling through trying to see, okay, other comments that we've neglected to leave feedback, respond to. Just what is time and getting back to people in a timely manner. In our YouTube channel, where we discussed the Disney diagnoses, part one, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it was actually a past guest of ours, Kelsey Wood. She wrote in, um, Finding Nemo has healing powers. I watch it with chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. It's good for the soul when you don't feel good. And Kelsey, 1000% agree. First off, impeccable choice of ice cream. My choice too. And second, Finding Nemo. Oh, that was such a good Disney movie. And honestly, that would be a great Disney diagnoses episode. So, if others would like a Disney diagnoses episode, revisit, and discussion, throw out some of your favorite Disney movies. My husband actually suggested throwing out other just non Disney movies. I think he suggests it though because he is always complaining about how terrible it is to watch movies with me because as a therapist, I typically just yell at the screen, if you just get a fucking therapist and heal your trauma, then this wouldn't be happening. And then he yells at me, if that happens, then the show would be over. They need to have a problem to have a movie. While I continue to yell at the screen, this is pretty much every movie this happens. So he was the one who's like, maybe you should just talk about all movies because clearly you have some strong opinions. And he is right. I do have some strong opinions. So shoot me a DM at the Shrink Show Podcast on all of the socials. Shoot me an email, j-a at theshrinkshowpodcast.com. And let me know what you think. What movie should I watch and give you feedback? For today, I'm so excited. We are going back to having our wonderful guests on, and I'm so excited for you to learn and listen to our conversation. So today, I have Chandra Petersen. She is the owner of Choices Counseling and Hypnosis. She is an international educator and speaker, hypnotist, and therapist. She's the founder of Best Year, Best You program. And this is for people ready to change their life. And I Succeed, which is a program where young people learn skills of unlimited courage and confidence for empowerment, excellence, and determination. We chat about all things hypnotherapy because just like me, she is a mental health therapist who also provides amazing hypnotherapy to her clients, and I hope you give her a listen. Check her out. I will link all of her socials and website and even some upcoming classes that she has. Coming up later in April, in May, and this summer, she has a few summer programs if you are local to the Omaha, Nebraska area. She's up in Blair, so she's just a neighbor away from us. So give a listen. Let me know what you're thinking, and I can't wait for you guys to hear everything she has to say. Yeah, usually we just chit chat about life, about things. Um, Obviously, we'll talk about, you and your business and things that you've been up to or are going to be coming up to. Um, so that it makes sense when I, say your bio and everything you listed off.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
But yeah,
right.
we can go into all the different things that we both do, I suppose, hypnosis wise, business wise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we do a lot of similar things, and it's kind of interesting how you can include multiple modalities in helping people get to that place that they want, right? And so,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think it's fascinating.
Well, maybe we can just go into that, I suppose. Because this is, I suppose, a more formal way of you and I to talk, but walk me through how or what even got you into, because initially it was counseling and then into hypnotherapy, right?
Right. I've been a counselor for, gosh, it's been this year will be 20 years. It makes me feel so old.
We have to say a number to it.
So yes, I used to say almost 20 years, but I am like in May 20 years.
Now
So
you're
I
in
can now
it.
say 20 years. I am. Yeah. So counseling for 20 years, hypnosis for going on 4, and EMDR trained, obviously CBT trained, trauma informed CBT, prolonged exposure. I mean, I just have thousands of hours of training in different modalities. And when I added hypnosis, it's hypnosis, NLP, shifting of the mindset. It's just crazy how fast you can help somebody through so many things, whether it's decreasing negative emotions, releasing trauma reactions. Yeah, so some of my clients have said, Chandra, why didn't you learn this before? I'm like, because the universe wasn't ready for me. I don't know.
Wasn't ready for it? Yeah. You had to master all the other letters that you just listed
Right.
off first, and then, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, realize what I didn't want to do so I could find what I do want to do.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah.
It's totally how it works.
Yeah.
So then, what got you curious about hypnotherapy?
I always have been, but prior to finding out that there was training local, I would have had to travel. And I think the closest one was like 3 states away. And at that time, when I was looking into it, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the funds, and I just kind of put it on the back burner. And then I just started doing trainings in everything else. I don't think there's anything I'm
All of
not
the other
trained
things.
in. Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, in fact, I will be taking the brain spotting training in August, I think
Oh,
is when it is in
yeah.
Omaha.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh, that
so
one will
I
be
think
really
that'd be a
good.
good combo. Yeah, yeah, I'm
I
looking
think
forward to
brain
that.
spotting and hypnosis are like, they're like, I don't know, sisters. They understand each other. They speak a lot of the same languages. Yeah, I think they're
Yeah,
great together.
cool, cool. That's what I figured after talking to you a little bit about it. I'm like, yeah, that might be a good training to implement. I do the bilateral. I don't do the full EMDR protocol because there's things about it that don't sit with me in what I want to do with people, but I do bilateral in some parts of it. But after you take so many trainings, you see how this part is a part of that part, and that part is a part of this part, and yeah, we just put a name on it and charge
I
money to
know.
take training in it.
Seriously, haven't you noticed how like every training is essentially the same? Like they're just putting their own branding, like their own words to it, but it's all the same.
It is. It really is. And it all boils back to 200 years ago plus, thousands of years ago probably, but people didn't know how to market back then. Now we
Right?
do.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So then I suppose what population you typically work with? Who are your default clients?
The ones I prefer are the teenagers. So you give me a good middle schooler, teenager,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, come on, let's go. Because I think I'm still part teenager myself. I don't think I ever outgrew that phase. But
Yeah.
because I work in a smaller town, I see everybody. There's not a whole lot of counselors up here. There's more now than there ever has been.
Oh yeah,
But
where are you for listener
I'm
sake?
hey, I'm in Blair, just north of Omaha. So,
How
we're
big is
not
that town?
super small. 10,000. So it's not
Eh,
super small, but it's still pretty rural. Yeah. So I've been here. I've been the only full time therapist for probably 15 years. We've had others come and go. There's one other gal that's just right outside of town that she's been pretty full time. But yeah, so I see everybody. I seem to do a lot of work with men in trauma and all kinds of trauma, sexual abuse, domestic violence, and people don't typically think of men as being trauma survivors or abuse survivors, but it's because they don't talk about it. So that seems to be a population that I have quite a few clients of as well. But yeah,
that's great. Dang. So that's
yeah,
impressive then, because you obviously, with the training and background that you have, you're probably able just to dig to the root of the trauma and the source of the pain in
yeah.
a really effective way.
Yeah. Yeah, and they know that it's somebody safe to let that out with. A lot of times the men have not been to counseling. This generation is a little bit different, like the teenagers and the 20-year-olds is a little bit different now, but the men that I see in
Hmm.
their 40s, 50s, yeah, they've never had counseling before. And because it's gotten so bad to the point where they're either getting divorced or they have substance use problems and they've been told, you need to do something about this. It's like, oh, well, it's because you're coping from trying not to feel what happened. So yeah, it's a population my heart goes out to, and I don't know. I like them almost as much as like teenagers. But
Almost as
40-year-old
much.
men, teenagers,
They're kind of the same. Yeah.
they're kind of the same. Yeah.
They speak the same language. Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but what I find in trauma work is you're essentially talking to children every day, just in grown up bodies. So even when I work with
Exactly.
grown ups, I'm like, I just had a session with like a 5-year-old. They're in a 50-year-old's body, but they needed to be held, or they needed to be told,
Yeah,
"Oh, that's okay." And that's really all they needed, just for that, I don't know, validation,
exactly.
confirmation. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, they get stuck at that age where they didn't get that nurturing. And as a counselor, to give that to them, probably the first time that they felt that unconditional. So, yeah, you're right. Mhm.
Yeah. So then how would you describe, so you said briefly you've been trained already like in EMDR and obviously hypnotherapy. How do you use them differently, or how do you marry the two, I suppose? Because it sounds like you don't do the standard EMDR protocols that maybe folks who've already heard about EMDR would be familiar with.
Right. EMDR, it's essentially bilateral, so it's activating both sides of the brain, right? And so you can do that without going into the trauma and recreating that. And so, in order to activate both sides of the brain with hypnosis, you just have them hold. I have things like uh, crystals or balls or something that they just pass back and forth. Teach them the butterfly
Nice.
tap, which is not only in EMDR, but it's been around forever, right? And so
Yeah.
eye movement is just eye movement, right? So I am trained in EMDR. I can say I'm trained, but because I don't do the full protocol, I don't say we're doing EMDR. And I just found out recently that some insurances don't pay for EMDR. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we've had some ongoing dialogues about just the ups and downs of insurance and the bullshit
right.
protocols of people who are paying for it but not doing it.
Right. Right.
That's a
So yeah,
whole
so I
other
do more of the
episode.
bilateral, activating both sides of the body, being
Yeah,
able to connect those two sides, the emotion side, the logic side, you know, you can call it emotion and logic side, but basically is letting both hemispheres open up and release what's stuck, right? Without having to refeel what made them stuck to begin with. So,
yeah. No, that's great. That's really great. So you just kind of take some of the traits and characteristics of what an EMDR session would look like, of the bilateral stimulation, so like the left and right side talking to each other, and then integrating more the hypnotherapy, like adding suggestions or adding, do you do
absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with EMDR, there's a safe place. And with hypnosis, you don't necessarily want them to automatically go to that safe place because that's not necessarily healing. That could be seen as dissociating or getting back from it. So it's more of a place of comfort so they can start practicing how to create that feeling of comfort in their body, how to, okay, I am feeling activated or emotionally distressed. And yes, this is distressing, but I can also be calm during it. And so learning how to create that and then opening the subconscious mind up and having that be their automatic go to rather than, you know, dissociating or drinking or using drugs or, yeah. So
Yeah. Would you say, do you use hypnotherapy then for majority of your clients?
I can't say for the majority because the majority of my clients still use insurance. The people who don't use insurance and just come to me for hypnosis, I probably have a two-thirds insurance, one-third non-insurance clientele
Mhm.
at this point. So I use hypnotic skills. I will use a lot of NLP, neuro linguistic patterning, um, programming, neuro linguistic programming, patterning, a lot of education of how to shift emotions. So it's like a combination of DBT, CBT, hypnotic work, right? So
Yeah.
when we work with insurance, it's just you have to make sure you use the techniques that is insurable. I don't
Yeah.
know if that came out right. Yeah.
That's okay. Insurance for listeners, like insurance has rules for how
Okay.
they think
A lot.
therapy should go. I think the one I always bitch about is like if you have a session that goes from like 51 minutes to like 52 minutes and how, or like 53, isn't it? And like they could make or break whether or not they even reimburse you for your time because of
Yep.
that.
Yep. And gosh forbid that you say you see somebody for an hour because they don't believe you.
Right. And it's like, okay, I was in the session with my client. They were crying, but I'm like, oh, we're at 50 minutes. Get out. Leave. I literally can't see you for 60 minutes because I won't get paid. It's not the 10 minutes, it's the entire time you were in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that keeps it fun. That keeps it on your
Yes.
toes. So then things like hypnosis, EMDR become a little standardized. Rules come with it. Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
So then I saw what is, or tell me about that I success. Is that what that was called?
Oh, the I succeed. Yes,
I
that is
succeed.
because, yeah,
What is
because I work
that?
so much with teens, I thought, there needs to be kind of like a program. And my first thought was I want to market, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. I want to market to schools so that they have like a curriculum that they could teach in a class, that they could teach children coping skills. We're getting better as a society, I've noticed in the schools the past 2 years, well, probably since COVID really shifted a lot. Prior
Oh yeah.
to the lockdown, yeah, prior to the lockdown, it was like make things easier and don't stress them out so much. And like, like, oh, it's too much. Well, here you can do a half day. And since we've been back in school full time, I am hearing more of administration and teachers and counselors talking about, what, we need to get more resilience in these kids. I'm like, you think? Yeah.
Yeah, you think?
So, yeah. So the I Succeed program is something that is going to be and it's not completely done yet. It's in the not even planning, it's in the implementing process. So it's almost ready to get out there to the public. But I've decided to give it to parents and to the teens themselves instead. And once they see how effective it is, then take it to the schools. Because I think that would be a better way. Because schools have a lot of stuff, hoops they have to jump through too. And so, yeah. So it's basically teaching them coping skills, teaching them how
Mhm.
to regulate their emotions, how to take themselves into that state of emotional well being, realizing that they can handle the tough stuff. And actually, when they handle it, that's what creates resilience. And then they have grit, knowing that they can do the next hard thing. And when they make it through it, creates more resilience. And realizing that messing up, that's where you learn the most. So failure is finding new ways to make it work or realizing you don't want to do that shit anyway. So, I learned something. I don't want to
Yes.
do it. Yeah. So that's what it is. And I Succeed is just it's an acronym for all of, the skills, success, empowerment. Yeah. Of who a child is supposed to be. Mhm. So
Wow,
I'm super
that's great.
excited to roll this out. Yeah.
Yeah. Have
Definitely.
you started using it?
Well, I've been using these skills with the kids for years. So it's just a
Oh,
matter of
yeah.
putting it into a package. Yeah. And there will be probably this summer. I haven't set the exact date yet, but this summer I'll have a 2-day camp, and they'll be able to come and actually be immersed in it, where they're like back to back learning and having fun. And when you
Yeah.
integrate play, right, we learn so much
Mhm.
more when we're playing and having fun. And yeah, so there'll be a 2-day camp for them, so they can just connect with each other and have that extra support. Because one-on-one, that's great, but I'm old. I'm 55. They're looking at me
Yeah.
like, "What old lady do you think you know?" Well,
They want like the peer, well, building that community too and having the
yeah,
fun with other peers will help them learn this skill too. Because when you incorporate that fun with learning a new skill, yeah, it'll just really set it in. That is
it
so
will,
cool.
and they'll have each other too. So when they go
Yeah.
back to school,
That sense
they're
of
going through something
community.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What ages are you offering this?
I will roll it out for middle school first, because
Okay.
the younger you can get the kids to learn these skills, the more they take them on with them. And then
Okay.
after I roll it out to middle school, I'll also offer it to high school. Yeah.
Ooh,
And then
nice. Like
in
six,
the
seven,
next
eight. Yeah.
yeah, in the next 2 years, I plan on getting it to the younger population as well. But that's not a population I work with a lot. So I'm gonna keep it in the middle school, high school range for at least a year, and then tweak it for the younger ones.
For the
'Cause they
littles.
have a yeah, they have a whole different mindset, as you know. They learn different. Yeah, so
Oh my gosh, that'll be so exciting to see like the progress that they make. And yeah, if you end up doing that every summer even, just like that community and cohort, how they would grow each year. Yeah.
yeah. I've run numerous camps for kids over the years. I was a part of a LiveWise organization where we were helping kids to basically have good, healthy coping skills. And so every year I did a camp with them, and it's just so much fun. They're so much fun. Oh my gosh. And then to watch them grow and see them now as adults, because I think the first camp was 10 years ago. And now these kids that were in camp now are parents themselves. And
Oh
I
my
just like,
gosh.
ah, yeah, it's just amazing. I love watching that.
That is so cool. Yeah, it just makes me think when I was little, I went to an adoptee camp. And so all of the friends that I met there, like half of them were my bridesmaids, and like we're still in
I
touch
love
in
it.
like social media. And so I'm like, yeah, those are like your summer friends. And even though you would only see each other in the summertime, that sense of community, like that shared inside jokes and like time together, and even like with the counselors, like we still stay in touch with our counselors. And I mean, it was just a whole community. So I mean, with this it's so great because it's also normalizing mental health plus making it, in the summer camp feel, the fun part, the exciting part
Right.
of just being a kid.
Right. Yeah. And they don't have the same stressors as they do in school. And, like I have to get my homework done and worrying about teachers and other students that they're not friends with, because they are connecting
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
are friends. And yeah, there's not the rivalry. They're there learning, they're there healing, they're there, yeah, to get the same positive things, which makes those connections even stronger.
Hmm. Oh, that's so cool. I love that you're creating that. That'll be so
Thanks.
exciting. We'll certainly keep listeners posted and like advertise it and stuff. Because I think that's the best age to really start incorporating some of these concepts because, like the way you talk to yourself, the clicks, all of that, like how you look, how you feel is so affected in those middle school years. And it just would be great to equip them with something over the summertime because it's already kind of an isolating time, I think, you know?
Mhm. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
I'm making it affordable so anybody can go. Absolutely anybody can go. Yeah, nobody's going to be
right.
no kid left behind in the real
No,
way where you
I
actually learn
know.
something.
Well, and I think this further reinforces I've always said therapy, and like the skills you learn in therapy, it's a class that should have been taught in school, you know?
Yeah.
Like how we joke about like we should have learned taxes and how to budget and, daily life skills. I'm like, yeah, also coping skills, also emotional regulation, useful skills, but who teaches us how to use those, you know?
Right?
Gosh.
Right? Sit at a desk for 8 hours, don't talk,
Nope.
be still, raise your hand. What?
I know. Seriously. So then you do other classes, so kind of backtracking going into other things that you do. So you also train other hypnotherapists, right?
I
Walk me
do. I
through some of
love
the
hypnosis
classes.
so much. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love hypnosis so much that I just like, okay, I'm just going to train. I have 4 years of learning from master hypnotists, Freddie and
Yeah.
Anthony Jacqueline. I have Mike Mandel's training, Carl Smith. Oh, I can't even think of them all right now. I love Kelly Woods. I've read her stuff. Right now, I'm currently in medical hypnosis with Tracy
Ooh.
Barrett Adams and Roger Moore. Tracy is a master. Oh my gosh, to listen to her. And so in these 4 years of just learning, absorbing like a sponge, I'm like, oh, people need to know this. They need to
That is
know how to
so
do
cool.
this. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I am teaching beginner hypnosis, which is a 3-day course where you learn how to hypnotize. You learn how to do inductions. You learn how to create suggestions for people based off what they want. So doing
Mhm.
that pre-talk, that interviewing, what is it that you want rather than what do you not want? I don't want to feel anxious. Well, what will you have when you don't feel anxious? Well, hell, I don't know.
Mm.
It's helping them
Yeah.
realize what will they have. Different scripts for confidence and self-esteem and releasing stress, changing habits. So after 3 days, you are a hypnotist and you're confident because you are practicing hypnosis day one. Bam.
Oh,
You can't
dang.
say, oh, this is my first time because now you've done it. So that's the
Yeah.
beginner class. Anybody can take that. I also have an advanced class where you will learn, gosh, there's so much more, so many more scripts, parts work, content free work, um, how to work with children. Well, I should have pulled up everything that you learn in it. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of everything to get your feet wet. Like, where do you want to go in hypnosis? How will you apply it to the clients that you have? If you're a mental health therapist, how will you use it? If you're
Yeah.
a Reiki practitioner, I have had massage therapists, nurses, so many different professions take the class and then they go out and they apply it to their population. So you learn a lot of different techniques, NLP, metaphors. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
metaphors are like the sun coming out in the middle of the rain, creating that rainbow. It just brightens everything up when you can use a metaphor. That was a metaphor.
I know. Look what you did.
So
That's
that's, and then if you take
beautiful.
them together, yeah, you can get
Yeah.
certified through ICBCH, which is an international organization with Richard
Okay.
Nongard. Brilliant man. I have a soul key class coming up right now. Martin Castor Petersen, past life regression, soul key coming up in 2 weeks, the middle of April.
Middle of
So
April. So what's that?
yeah, that is past life regression with Soul Key is about going back to the lives that you got stuck in. So if you think about trauma in the life that you're living today and how that affects you as an adult, well, just
Mhm.
imagine the traumas that you had in other lives that you never healed that came with you to this
Oh.
life, right?
Yeah. How do you know? Like, how do you explain to people, are there traits or qualities in which you say, oh, we need to do that?
Usually, when people are looking for past life stuff, they already have a feeling that something came with them. And
Okay.
every once in a while, if I do trauma work, healing with a client, and you have them go back to an earlier time before all of the pain, can I cuss on here? The shit
Yeah.
in life happened. Okay.
We've all heard
So
it.
you okay. you have them go back to the time before all the shit in this life happened. Every once in a while, I'll hear them say, and I say, "Well, how old are you?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm like 24." And I'm thinking, how can that be before all the shit started? Because you're only 26 now, or you're only 21 now. So it's like, oh,
Oh.
they've jumped to a previous life.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think being aware of that can happen is also another good reason to maybe take a class that teaches you how to prepare for past lives and how to help people heal that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it can happen in regular therapy, and it can happen when they come in just literally to say, what do I need to fix in my past life so I'm a better human today? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I that reminds me of when I first got trained just in hypnotherapy, but before I was trained in past life regression. I was practicing on Angie, the co-host. And so she's like, "Yeah, let's just like see where this like feeling keeps coming up." And she already had an idea of like childhood, but this lifetime. So she didn't tell me that, but she's like, "I just let's just focus on this present trigger, right?" So she's in the chair going under, and I'm asking all the questions, and I'm still new, so I'm like flipping through my pages like, "Okay, okay, I think I know what I'm saying." Right? And so I'm like, "Okay, let's regress back. Let's go to an earlier time." And all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, I'm in a castle." And I'm like, "Fuck." Because it's not this life. And so I was like, "What?" And so I at that point throw the book away because that we're not on any of the script that I was trained to. And so then I'm just like, okay. So we just start exploring together. And then we jump even more lives. We go like several lives to the first youngest experience. And then she comes out, and both of us are like, wow, that was wild. And she's like, it sounds like several lives of trauma, but it was the same trauma, just different life. And so we had to stop by like three different lifetimes before we got to this one. Isn't that crazy?
It is amazing, amazing. And that's what I like about the Soul Key protocol is
Yeah.
they get to heal that, right? Okay, let's
Yeah.
fix that. So then it just flows all the way through, literally up to this point in this life.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. But not everybody's into that.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to think about or talk about past lives. That's cool. I can do this life.
Yeah, I know for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like that happens to every client, and she's as in true form the exception to the rule. So it is what it is. But that's probably why your trainings are divided that way, where you have like your hypnosis, like, the stage one, and then the soul key past life regression is its own separate
It
training because I,
is.
I imagine
Absolutely.
you have different folks taking different classes.
Yeah. You get somebody that's real science minded. I don't even want to like classify, but real science minded. They're not necessarily going to go for they call it woo woo stuff. But I
Yeah.
don't know, it's getting more and more needed and wanted, and people are looking for it. So I think more people need to be aware of it and know how to guide clients through that to heal. So
Well, yeah. And
yeah,
I think similar to how we were saying, EMDR, brain spotting, hypnosis, they're all so similar. They're just rebranding different words to their specific model, but we're talking to the same parts of the brain when you really break it down. So I think people are kind of marrying the sides of like woo woo stuff and, I mean, mental health therapy is still a science. So they're towing the line.
right, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then, who are your typical students who come to any of your trainings? Are they, because we're mental health therapists, but do you typically get mental health therapists? Do you get other folks?
I want to say it's probably half mental health therapist right now, and um, I have a cab driver that
Ooh,
she was one of my very first students, and she still comes to the monthly mastermind groups to learn new techniques and new skills. Nurses, a
nice.
psychiatrist, recently a psychiatrist. I'm like, I love to hear that psychiatrists
My
are open
gosh.
to more than just meds. It's like, okay, let's help, the mental health part of it.
Seriously. I know. You're just like, I think this is going good. I think we're doing it.
Yeah. So basically, I have a variety of people: Reiki practitioners, nurses, psychiatrists, cab drivers, teachers. Oh my gosh, I love doing working with teachers because they take the skills back to their kids. So, yeah, yeah, lots of different types of people, which is exactly what I want. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you do any other classes? Are you going to get into
I
medical hypnosis?
I am. There's so many people teaching some really good stuff right now that I think I'm going to just use it more for clients rather than actually teaching a full certification of it. But it's something I will be implementing. Actually, a lot of the stuff that we already know through hypnosis is applicable to medical. It really is. It's about relaxation, it's about helping the body to find those like the control center and turning down pain, dialing up comfort. And so it really is a lot of regular hypnotic work that you're just using with people with diagnoses. So yeah, there's not a lot of magic to it. We already know it.
Gosh.
So
Yeah,
yeah, just having
it's
the
already there.
confidence to use it. So I have a hypnotherapy
Awesome.
class where I teach the trauma release, but the advanced class teaches a lot of different techniques. And the hypnotherapy class is just for becoming a trauma specialist and releasing trauma. And not everybody wants that. There's hypnotists out there like, I don't want to do trauma. I will help you stop smoking. I will help you increase confidence. I will help you not bite your nails, but I want to do trauma. So that's why I do the advanced class that way. So you don't have to learn trauma if you
Separate.
don't want to do trauma. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. That's true. I have a neighbor in my office building and she does Reiki and she'll do smoking cessation and she'll do like confidence building, but she refers the trauma onward. She's like, nope,
Yep.
not
Yep.
her training. So that works
Yep.
though.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't do smoking. I've done a few smoking cessations that have been pretty successful. But I refer even smoking out because that's something that, it's something that I think somebody who is really skilled at it should be doing. So I refer that out. People refer me kids, teenagers, because I work a lot with kids and teenagers. I get referrals for trauma and weight. So I do the virtual gastric band as well. And
Oh,
yeah,
that's good
yeah,
to know. I have a few folks that I know could benefit from that. So yeah, I could send them your way for
yeah,
that.
very effective.
Um, I know. So then maybe if they're beyond the training and everything, to even backtrack to the beginning, what was your like first experience with hypnotherapy? Or how did you initially like in your lifetime get exposed to it?
Oh, in my lifetime, probably stage and not
Yeah.
high school stage where most people get introduced to stage, which by the way they now call comedy hypnosis. So that's a shift in language. But the stage in the what was his name? Jay Medicine Hat
J Medicine
way.
Hat. Yep.
Uh-huh. So that was fun. So that was my first experience, and hypnosis is hypnosis. You're still working with the subconscious mind. And one of the questions I get asked a lot, when I would talk about, well, are you going to make me cluck like a chicken? I'm like, not unless you want to cluck like a chicken, because you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do.
Right.
So people who volunteer to do, well, Jay Medicine has passed obviously now, but people who volunteer to get on his stage know they're doing something raunchy. They just know. They're like, all right, let's go for it. But when they come into an office to do hypnotherapy or coaching hypnosis, they're there to release emotions. They're there to change habits. They're not there to do something they don't want to do, and they won't. So, yeah.
Right.
So my first therapeutic experience was actually becoming trained in it and doing it. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Knew
Yeah.
about
Mine
it,
was the
but
same too.
yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, mine was the same. I only saw it from Jay Medicine Hat and only knew about it from from his hypnotherapy. So I was
Right.
like, that is outrageous. And my friend went on stage, so it was and she was there the whole show, so she was like in it to win it, you know? And she was one of the ones who came out and was like, I have no idea what happened the whole time. until the very, very end. And this is the example I'll share with clients on how your brain will always protect you, meaning you will never say what you don't want to say. Because, I mean, she was up there acting ridiculous. She was probably one of the crowd favorites. So, like, he just kept messing with her because that's what the comedy shows do.
Yeah.
And right at the very end, he's like, okay, like, who are each of, our lovely volunteers going back to? And so it was me and a couple other friends. And he was going to have him say probably something X rated, like about me. And I'm her best friend. And she came out and goes, I'm not going to say that. And the whole audience goes, oh, because
Oh.
I mean, it would have probably been terrible. And so, but she goes, and we all were like, what was he going to have you say? Like, why did you stop? And she's like, I don't remember, but I remember thinking, I will not say that about my friend. And she came out, walked to our table, and that was the end of the show. So it's
Yeah.
like her subconscious was very aware of that comment, but she was like the crowd favorite most of the show otherwise.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yeah.
It was
I
bizarre,
love
but it
that.
was
And I
great.
love that example because you won't do or say anything that you don't want to. Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's just a way to remind folks exactly that because it looks as if you'll say anything, you know, you'll get up there and do whatever or say whatever. And yeah, it's so bizarre, but magic too.
Right.
My gosh. Are there, I suppose, any other things that you want listeners to know, whether about you, about some of the trainings that you have coming up that I didn't ask about?
Hmm. Else, let's see. I mean, the trainings that are coming up, Soul Key is coming up in a couple of weeks in April. I do have a beginner hypnosis class the first weekend of May coming up. So, you wanna learn how to hypnotize and amaze your friends and help people in a really really effective way. Definitely give me a call or shoot me an email if you want more questions. As far as me, I just love what I'm doing. I I just love it. It's fun. You see results. People come back and they're like, "Whoa." I just feel like a totally new person, and it's so much faster than talk therapy. Talk therapy works, don't
Oh
get
my
me wrong.
gosh.
I've
Yeah.
been a talk therapist for 20 years. It
Yeah.
works, but it takes so long.
Mhm.
So
You're
I'm not in it to make friends for 4 years. I'm in it to help you get to where you want to go. And so let's get there fast so you can live the rest of your life the way you want
yes.
to.
Yeah. I was thinking if you could even imagine or remember 20 years ago when you were first starting therapy and you were like, like fresh, all the education is done and here I am doing the work. Could you imagine being where you were today? What would have that been like for 20 years ago to know that this is where you're at and this is what your practice looks like?
It would have been a game changer had I learned how to do these skills when I was in college or shortly after. It's so much push. CBT is so pushed. Like that's what
Yeah.
insurance companies pay for, and that's what takes the longest.
Yeah.
So it needs to get out there more. People need to be talking about this more. Everybody needs to be talking about this more. We are programmed every single day. We are in and out of trance, whether we're driving or our spouse is in the background, or we're like, I ain't listening to this. Um, when we are in trance, when we are reading a book, when we are watching television. I took my husband to the doctor the other day to get a procedure, and on the television, I think every 3 minutes there was a advertisement, a commercial for
Yeah.
medication, and he just keeps watching. He just like kind of zoned out watching, and I'm kind of like, stop watching that. That is
Yeah.
programming you because you are tranced out and you're seeing and hearing all these illnesses. I'm like, knock it off. Don't watch this stuff. So yeah, we need to
Dang.
teach
Yeah. You
people
shut that
early
shit
how
down.
to change. Yeah, absolutely. And the lady across from me looks at the commercial and she looks back and I'm like, don't watch it.
Quit listening to it. They're tricking you.
They are. We are one of two countries in the world that is allowed to commercialize medication. Hmm.
Really?
Yep.
I feel like I've heard that before. What's the other country?
Yep.
Canada?
Nope, it's not Canada. I looked it up the other day just to
Who
make
else
sure because I
likes
say
meds?
that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So
Dang.
it's
I'll give it a
interesting, isn't it?
Google.
It's
Yeah.
programming. Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
Yep.
Well, can you
Everybody
announce
needs
for
to learn this.
listeners what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you? How can they find you?
They can go to my website at choicescounseling-hypnosis.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Choices Counseling and Hypnosis, where I have about 16 videos. I'm putting more up, some hypnosis, some education. I do a live every month that people can jump on for free, and they can just experience a hypnosis session and learn different skills on how to create the life that you want to live. But yeah, go to my website. You can reach out to me. My email's on my website, and I love talking about this. I love talking about different modalities. I love talking about hypnosis, how to help you create the life that you want to create, because you only got one of them, at least in this one. Maybe there might be
I know.
concurrent, but we won't go there.
Maybe. That's another episode. We can go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Awesome.
really
Well, thanks
appreciate
so
you having me on,
much.
and I love talking about this. And thank you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Don't hang up. Okay.
Not
Thanks. Bye.